Welcome back to Daily Encouragements. Um, I'm still tired. I've been working hard, been handling a few things, and we all have days where we just want to give up. We all have days where we just want to stop what we're doing. We want to throw our little tantrums. We want to throw our toys out the cot, and we just want to give up. And we all go through that. And I think we've got to realize that there's something at stake, there's something at play to keep you in the game, to keep you going, to keep you trying, to keep you learning. And if you don't realize that, then you can lose out at crucial moments where perhaps if you just squeeze through, if you just tried a little harder, if you just kept in the game just a touch longer, you might just make it through. I think that's half of the leadership equation. It's just showing up. It's just showing up consistently. It's just being there. And one of the big things, the things that I think is most important, is just doing the right thing. It's not even doing it for the reward sometimes. It's not even doing it because you're going to get a pay rise or anything like that, although those sort of things happen. It's just doing it because it's the right thing. And I like to go to bed at night. You should be going to bed at night. But I like to go to bed at night knowing that I've done the right thing in the day. And this is not about getting your value from that or some sort of weird works mentality. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a feeling of fulfillment. And part of that fulfillment package is knowing that you've made some good calls, that you worked through some tough stuff, that you did some things the right way. And this was one of the toughest lessons I learned growing up. Is I was at a Christian school, and we would have assembly once or twice a week. And there was always a class prefect who was assigned to take your Bible from the class, Christian school, and then, because you weren't allowed into the school before school started, and the class prefect would have to bring your Bible to assembly, and if you didn't put your Bible in the correct spot, then they couldn't bring it and you'd get in trouble. And so one morning, one of my arch enemies, this girl who didn't like me very much, it was her job to bring my Bible. And I knew that I'd put it in the right spot and it was ready to go. And she didn't turn up with the Bible. And then I got in trouble and I got a detention for not bringing the relevant equipment to assembly. And I knew that she had done something to it because it was clear in my mind I was going to be well behaved in front of her. I wasn't going to give her any opportunity. She was my enemy. And so my impression was that she took this Bible and threw it away. And I did lose it. I lost it, even though I'd put it in the right place in my memory. And so I said to my mom, I came home, I got this detention. I'm going to have to lose a Friday afternoon now. And I said to her, Mom, I'm completely right in this. She's completely wrong. I can't believe they're even going to side with her. And my mom believed me, absolutely believed me. She knew that I was someone of integrity. I wasn't a liar. And so she believed me. And then she said something that was very difficult for me to swallow. She said, but you're still going to go and do that detention. And I said, but why? I didn't do it. And I had this high sense of justice. I didn't do the crime. Why am I doing the time? And so she said, but because the school has dished out the punishment to you, you've got to do this. And I remember sobbing and arguing and crying. And she just walked me through it. She said, you got to do the right thing sometimes. And so I went and I mean, they could have made me do the detention. My parents could have forced me to do it, but they walked me through it and they got me to a point where I chose to do it, even though I thought it was unjust and I thought I was right. And to this day, I believe I know what happened, but I did the detention. I did the time, even though I didn't do the crime. And that has kept me in such good stead over the years, because there's been times, and we all have these times, where bad things happen and you don't deserve them. People ridicule you, people accuse you, people say dirty things, they put you in dirty positions. You'll maybe get stolen from, and it's not fair and it's not right. But that lesson for that little 12-year-old boy, which has done me so well throughout my life, and the lesson that I will teach anyone else that will listen, is even if it's unjust, don't throw a tantrum. Don't throw your toys out the cot. Don't try and get back at people. Don't try and get revenge. Sometimes you just got to do the time, even though it's not your crime. And I don't believe that we should be victims, and I don't believe we should be martyrs and just going out there and trying to just absorb punishment. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about just keeping your head held high, making sure that when you go to bed at night, you know that you're clean, that you've done the right thing. Even when people have done harm to you, you've done the right thing. And, David, when he's got something that's very unjust happening to him, his oldest son, beautiful man that people love and respect, and David loves, Absalom, has rebelled against him and taken the crown for himself. And rather than fight Absalom and cause bloodshed, David says, no, I'm going to leave the city. I don't want to do this. I'm just going to leave. And as he's leaving, there's a man who starts to curse him and insult him and throw stones at David. And David's boys say, hey, David, let's go and cut off this guy's head. And David says, no, don't cut off his head. You don't know my own son is ridiculing me. Maybe this guy is ridiculing me and cursing me from a point of view of God. But you know what? I'm not going to respond out of revenge. And David knew how to cut heads off. He had cut heads off in his past. And he said, even if this is a curse from God, which it wasn't, but even if this was a curse from God, I'm going to not respond out of revenge, because God will look at me kindly and restore me to the covenant blessing. And I love the fact that David had a higher value for the covenant than he did for the injustice. And I think that's where a lot of us get unstuck. A lot of us don't want to do the right thing, or we won't do the time even though we haven't done the crime. It's because we have a high sense of justice, but we forget about the justice of God. We forget about that He has heavenly angels that are accountants, and the best double bookkeeping system accountants that there are. And in the heavenly economics, that things will restore you to a covenant blessing. They'll restore you to what God promised, despite what other people do to you. And I know that there's books out there, the bait and Satan and all these other things, and I don't want to talk about this in a negative sense, but in a positive sense. Stay on track, stay focused, stay looking at God and what the good things He has available for you. Don't get distracted, don't get diluted, don't get vengeful, don't get bitter with all this other stuff that happens around you. And through it all, you'll be restored to a covenant blessing. If you don't have that mindset, then what happens is you get diluted to a revengeful mindset. You get diluted to some sort of curse. And you've got to be better than that. You've got to treat yourself better than that. You've got to treat yourself as God treats you, which is with kindness and with covenant, not with revenge. And in that place, you'll often change those people who hate you and are trying to accuse you or trying to bring you down. You'll often elevate them back up to a level of forgiveness and wholeness just by doing the right thing. So that's my encouragement for you today. When you're tired, or when there's injustice, or when things are not going your way, don't get distracted. Make sure your focus is on the covenant blessing and allow God to restore you to that. Don't try and take things into your own hands. And when you do that, you'll come out the other side thankful for those experiences, because you'll be restored to a higher level than all of the other things that would try to be taken away from you. You'll be restored to much greater. Bless you guys.